Okay, so hello and welcome to our 44th Tarot On video class, free in our Tarot Professionals group, courtesy of the Tarot Association at www.tarotassociation.net. Join now for wonderful benefits, including a 10-hour video course and about 30 magazines and 78 videos, one for every card from our research with Secrets of the Waitsmith Tarot, and loads more. This episode is brought to you, sponsored by the Tarot Association. Thank you very much. That's the sales out of the way, and now we can begin the order of business today, which is to look at Hod and Netzach. We are also going to do a tarot ritual today. We're going to write one together so I can demonstrate how we can put a ritual together from everything that we've covered so far. If you're already lost with what I'm talking about, then stick with me and we'll go over some of the summary information that we've already covered in the previous 43 videos. Otherwise, you might want to back up at least 2 or 3 videos to videos 40 onwards in this section of initiation and tarot. So we've been covering the tree of life and going up the tree, and I wanted to talk about Hod and Netzach, the greater Practicus and Philosophus today, and demonstrate a tarot ritual, and also read a couple of sections from, in our left corner we have the great beast himself, Aleister Crowley, and in the right corner, batting for Western Sufism, we have Irina Tweedy. Let's get ready to rumble. And we're going to use some material from Crowley, and I'm going to read a little section from Irina Tweedy's book as our Gems in the Pandemic series of inspirational reading and material that I found useful over the last 40 years of work. So, first, before we do our ritual together, we are going to take a look at these 2 grades. And we talked about the Zelator grade being at least 1 year of slow burning fire and study. And I'm just going to scroll the mouse down so I see everyone's comments. Hello, everyone. Hello, Fiona. Singapore, 4 a.m. Thank you for joining us. So the Zelator... and if you need the videos, they are all in the unit section. The unit section of the Facebook group, there are about, I think, 20 hours, 20 or 30 hours of videos to this, and they're sort of roughly grouped as well. So with our Zelator grade, we have 1 year's worth of serious, and that's the calcination in alchemy, the slow burning fire. And then in Yesod we have more psychotherapeutic work on the self, work on the model of the universe that you've built up, inner guide meditation, dream work, lucid dreaming, astral travel, scrying, travel in the planes, rising on the planes, projection into a sphere, all of these sorts of type activities. We have our fundamental rituals of space, self, time, and friendship, with the lesser banishing ritual, the middle pillar, Liberesh, and the Rose Cross. And then from here, we move across to Hod. And in Hod, we have the Practicus, which is practical magic. And on the Netzach, we have more devotional magic, contemplative magic. And this is what I would like us to look at today. We're going to have a look at the Practicus work, building a ritual together, and I'm going to go through basics of esoteric ritual, simple ritual anyway. And with Netzach, we are going to look at something called Liber Astarte, which is something written by Aleister Crowley, and we're to use that in our spell over here, because with these Sephiroth on the tree of life, it's really important to take them as pairs. It's very important to take them as pairs. You can't look at his head without understanding Gibora and the other way around. You can't do the same with Bina and Hokmah. They're even more closely linked together. And here, Hod and Netzach are very almost polar opposites. Here we have your emotional world, and here we have your mental world. But nonetheless, they do have to be taken together to build the blasted tower and collapse it. Sequence of events that creates the veil underneath Tiferet. And I think the interesting thing as well is that the veil that hides Tiferet and the abyss that hides the upper Trinity, if you think of the veil not as a veil that you have to part or you have to rip through, the veil of the temple was rent upon the crucifixion of Christ, which is our cross here. There's the veil of the temple, this temple anyway. That if you imagine that all of this is a mess down here and all out of balance, like a real, I've had some very terrible secondhand my time, things that last about 28 minutes and then to pieces, and the engine makes a lot of noise, it makes a lot of mess, a lot of pollution, it wobbles from side to side, the suspension isn't right, and basically if you imagine that your machine down here isn't congruent, consistent, comprehensive, then it kicks up like a dust storm, and that dust storm, that pollution cloud, is the veil. And so all to do is equilibrate these in the right order, fill the challenges of each one, and suddenly the veil vanishes. The veil was only there because of the mess it was in. It isn't a thing that we have to get through. It's a thing that we have to sort ourselves out so we realize it wasn't there in this place. And that's a fundamental link with the whole of the initiatory system, that these things are not there. They're only there because we are not there. And that is the only thing. We have to forget our loss of remembrance. We have to remember our forgetfulness. What we have to do in the esoteric path. It's not a case of adding things to it, it's a case of these things to tweak them. So in Hod then we have the Practicus grade where we learn structural, we sort out our own mental processes, our belief system, we learn to think a bit more clearly, logically, and so on, and then we get more devotional before we can enter fully. We don't enter it through the path of, we do through a death and resurrection type of ritual, Adeptus Minor. We actually come back down to Yesod and go up through temperance, through the grace, the middle pillar. We try going through with the devil, we try going with death, but we're always out of balance when we do it. Come back round and go through the angle of the middle path here, always. Okay, so in terms of a ritual, a practical ritual, we have several. We have a banishing ritual, purification, we have consecration, then we have an invocation or a transaction that goes on in the ritual, or some sort of observance, whatever the function of the ritual is, and then we have purification and banishing at the end as well. Now, the banishing that we do, basically, if you think about doing something in the kitchen, you basically tidy up the whole kitchen first. You clear the deck, and you know that you're going to work. You don't have to go and get anything from a living room or anywhere else. So you banished like your cat out of the kitchen. You have to banish your kids out of the kitchen. You have to banish anyone warming you up, and so on. So your mobile phone out of the kitchen as well. So that's the banishing. And then the purification is basically clean everything down. You make sure there is nothing that you don't need. So laundry, you fold up and you put out the way. Ideally, this is the ideal situation. And then to consecrate means to a particular act. So, for example, I might say, right, my knife is for cutting bread and this knife is for cutting the raw meat, and I will keep separate. And then we do the invocation, which goes to our recipe. So we have a recipe of the things in the right order, which we'll come on to in a moment. And then we tidy up afterwards. We banish everything out of the room just to make sure that anything that we mess with, we now tidy up so no one comes and trips over the laundry that we've moved. And we finish the ritual. And it's the same with the magical ritual. It follows these steps quite precisely. There are exceptions to the rule, but let's take this as our basic template for a ritual. Now, the banishing ritual, I usually less a banishing ritual of the pentagram, and this learn it as a zelator. So when we get to here, we already know the practices to put around our proper invocatory rituals, and we can do it psychologically safely, karmically safely, and I use that in its proper term. So we this process. Now, in terms of invocation, that we come here to Netzach, because Netzach, pain ritual, but not necessarily in a kitchen. Or when you're, for example, I had to banish my cat, Alex, quite often if I was doing any work with the chain, because if I was cutting logs with a saw, then Alex would always be interested in sitting on the warm logs I'd finished, but he really didn't vanish during the chainsawing ritual. But for general ritual, they can be absolutely fine. So the invocatory part of our ritual, when we're on something higher, it's more to do with Netzach. It's more to do with this. Now, when we're working up the tree of life, one of the tasks here is to sort out our brain, sort out our way of learning practical ritual, and practically applying it, actually using all the things we've learned here and here into practical ritual. But over here, we learn to be more emotional and to call on outside ourselves, because we need to understand that the universe is not just us, and get beyond the veil, because this is the place when we are us, we are not I anymore. So we need to start to devote to a higher deity or deities, it doesn't really matter, start to transcend our own ego by devoting our lives to other. Okay? So one of the practices here is called Liber Astarte, and it's basically a 6-month operation where you dedicate, it can be longer or shorter, you can perhaps even do it for a week, where you dedicate yourself to a deity and you really throw yourself in to an absolute worship of that deity, an absolute practicus, absolutely following the philosophy of that deity, becoming a priest or priestess of that deity. And Aleister Crowley has a wonderful set of instructions for doing so called Liber Astarte. And I'd like to read, this is in Magic in Theory and Practice, Simple Magic. Is anyone else having problems? Or is it just Debbie Freeman? Because I'm noticing it quite rapidly on my screen every now and again, which is a thing. Is it bad? I wonder if it's because I'm running something around, which I'll stop now. Let me just, are you sure you want to cancel? Yes, let's just cancel that. Okay, there was something running in the background. I'm hoping that that will tidy itself up a bit, and certainly the recording will be far more smooth. Okay, so it's going in and out. Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit better. And now I've stopped something running in the background, but I'm not quite sure. It could be just a Facebook glitch as well. Right, I will end the video because otherwise I'll have to start totally again. So we shall see. Just wonder if I can change something with the video feed here. Stream settings. Okay, I'll have to see. Right, okay then. So so Liber Astarte in magic, or magic in theory and practice, is a practice for devoting ourselves to a particular deity. Excellent. Yeah, I was hoping to finish. I was running 4 videos for our Magica school, transferring some videos on the life and magic of Dion Fortune all day today, converting them to to a new system that we have, a new platform which is better for mobile phones. And unfortunately, to process them, it takes several hours for each video. And there was one just finishing in the background, which I hoped would be finished before we did this, but that's okay. Right. Liber Astarte. Yeah. Now it's not dedicated to Astarte. You can use the ritual for anything else, but nonetheless, you could do Horus, you could do anything. So in Liber Astarte, there's a useful bit here where Crowley says this. When writing an invocation, and he writes it in a very particular way, let the Philosophus prepare a powerful invocation of the particular deity according to his ingenium, but let it consist of these several parts. First, an imprecation, as of a slave unto his lord. Second, an oath, as of a vessel to his liege. Third, a memorial, as of a child to his parent. Fourth, an orison, as of a priest unto his God. Fifth, a colloquy, as of a brother with his brother. Sixth, a conjuration, as to a friend with his friend. Seventh, a madrigal, as a lover to his mistress. So basically, you write your invocation starting off as a slave unto your Lord. So you start your invocation off with a woe is me, I am just a pitiful thing, I don't believe that you would ever listen to me, I call upon you from my lowly temple, I've only been able to offer you this bare bit of incense, and so on. And then you slowly build up the invocation in 7 layers until eventually you are one with the deity. You are invoking them as a lover to your partner, from being a friend with a friend, and so on. So you just build up the invocation like that. So just bear that in mind when we come to both our devotional work, which we'll talk about with Irina Tweedy, but also our ritual. Now, the ritual is going to be very simple, and I'll put some notes for this in the file section, perhaps. And I use a particular format for the rituals. basically, for the banishing ritual, to begin with, then purification with salt and water and incense and the candle for earth, water, air, and fire. So I have all 4 elements to hand, and then we have little invocations for each of those stages. But then for our tarot ritual, we're going to do this. And I'd like some input from the group today. So we're going to do this in real time together, just to show you how it can be done. So the first thing I want us to do is we're going to need to think of a ritual that we can all do using our tarot deck over the next 7 days. Okay, so this is going to be 7 days, and that will just take us over Beltane, May the 1st, into the sort of start of summer, technically. This is a very black summer, that's for sure, cruel summer, as the song would have it. So I need a ritual that we can all do that will give us something powerful to last us through the next 7 days. What sort of thing could we each do that would be useful to all of us as a group of people at the moment? What sort of outcome might we want from our ritual? Okay, so have a think. I'm going to have some sacred tea. Yes, if you're dancing around a maypole, you will need to be 2 meters apart as you dance, and certainly don't wind it closer until you all get together. So a healing ritual would be interesting. Okay, so healing. And it's invoking a deity. In this case, it's more of an energy that we're going to invoke, but we're going to use a similar sort of connection. Empathy, I like that. Healing, connection. Connection, empathy, healing. Perseverance, we definitely need. Right, my gosh. Okay, so how about now? Healing is to do with wholeness and connection. Okay, so let's talk about a connective healing, that we can make a wholeness from our connection with each other, and in persevering together, we can heal all that needs healing. Okay, how about that? So in persevering together and connecting, so I'll write these down. So we can't have too many. This is where the purification comes in. So perseverance in our sacred connection brings healing. I like the idea that we're all sort of, I think this also includes empathy, protection, all of these other things. So I quite like the idea that, and I think this holds it. If you imagine we're all holding hands, I know it sounds a bit cliched, in a sacred circle, and our perseverance in not letting each other go, keeping our connection, brings healing. We can set the healing within our circle of holding each other hand in hand. How about that? Shall we go with that? I mean, we're sort of going to have to, because otherwise we'll be discussing it all evening. But shall we go with this? That perseverance in our sacred connections brings healing in our circle. Okay. Now, what I want us to do is, first of all, think of a tarot card, that would summarize that energy. Okay. Now, think of it this way. Think about it as being the suit. So what suit does it need to be in? What suit? This is going to be more than an astral ritual as well. So what suit does it need to be in, this particular thing? Okay, that's the first thing we do. What's the first thing? What suit? What element do we need to bring in? What energy? And keep it very simple. Okay, so first of all, we decide what element we're working with. Are we working with fire, earth, air, or water? And what suit is that? So cups. Yeah, I'd go with cups. Now the star card we could also use, but let's keep this one a minor card, and I'll tell you for why in a moment. We could have swords, we could have pentacles, water or fire. Okay, so I'm going to go with water. You see, I'm thinking the Four of Wands for myself, but we'll take let's take the Three of Cups. I think we can all easily recognise that. Perhaps, yeah. So let me take the Three of Cups from my ritual box here. This is already an altar in itself. So let's take our Three of Cups. Yeah, I think we're good with cups then. And then we decide what stage we're at in our particular process. And we're right at the beginning of it, so let's take the Three of Cups, okay? The Three of Cups. Brilliant. Now, here's the thing. You can now do that for any other ritual that you want. All you have to do is think of the situation, think of which suit that it's in. So if it's a financial situation, it's pentacles. If it's a something to do with education or a new course or learning, then it's swords and so on. Okay, and then what you do is you think how far through that process is the actual process that you're mapping. So how far down the tree of life has it come? Okay, how far down the tree of life has it come? And in this case, it's only got as far as Bina. Our circle is still quite abstract. We are not a proper order of hermits. We are not physically together. We're still all up here. So we're going to try and bring it down all the way to the bottom. So there's the three. We're only in the sort of understanding phase of it up at the top. Okay. And that's it. So if I was wanting to do a money spell, then if I was halfway through a financial issue, then I would choose the Five of Pentacles. And of course, that would be the card of deferred income and poverty and so on. Okay. So now we know how to pick a minor arcana card for any situation. This card has to map the situation. Okay, it has to represent the situation itself. It's a reversal of doing a tarot card reading. Usually you get the card and you work out what situation it relates to. For a ritual, we just reverse the engine, put it into reverse, and we know the situation, so we need the card that goes with it. Make sense? So this is perseverance in our sacred connections brings healing. But you'll notice this is just the sacred connection and the healing. What we want is the perseverance. So what energy do we need to bring to this in order to activate it magically? We know the situation, but we need the energy to do it. And that is a court card. We know from our Kabbalistic work that we've already done in terms of our split deck methods, and now you can see how all of this builds up and fastens itself together in a practical way. All of the stuff that we've been learning for correspondences and inner guide meditations and everything else, suddenly you can now make sense of in a practical way. You can use it practically to make formation, structure down the tree of life and in the real world. Okay, now we're not going to use a major card for energy because those are the archetypes. We're going to use a court card. So what court card do we need for perseverance? For perseverance. Yes, technically we could use the star card, for example, for navigation and for vision and for hope, but we want perseverance. So Prince of Pentacles, that's a good one. Knight of Swords. I was thinking, yeah, it's perseverance. I do think that I would go with Denny for the Knight of Wands, but then I was thinking more Pentacles because of the perseverance. And Evelyn's got the Prince of Pentacles. So, yeah, it could be the Knight of Wands. I wouldn't say the Queen of Swords perseveres. She's more direct and cutting and sharp. So just in response to Emma. Although, again, when you do this ritual for yourself, you can choose the card that fits for you. Okay, so Knight of Pentacles. So Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. Okay, we're going to go with Knight of Pentacles. Okay, the Knight of Pentacles for perseverance. Okay, that's the one I'm going to choose just for our example. Otherwise, we could discuss the pros and cons. If you ever work in a magical group, this is the point where you need a hierophant to make a decision. Otherwise, you'll be discussing the ritual long after it's needed and long after it should have been done. So that's why you need a hierophant to make a decision. So I'm going to be technically a hierophant for the day, just because I'm in front of the microphone, and we're going to have the Knight of Pentacles, the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so I'm going to get my Knight of Pentacles out. It's like I was at one workshop when someone said, everyone get your Hierophant out, which caused a great deal of hilarity. It became a running joke about getting your Hierophant out. What did we say? Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles for slow plodding perseverance. Here we go. Yep, he's the guy that we want, definitely. Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so we are going to have the Knight of Pentacles needs to activate. Oh, this work. There we go. I got that right. The Knight of Pentacles need to activate so that we can have perseverance. In our sacred connections brings healing. Okay. Now, how do we do this then? How do we do this? Well, what I want you to do when we're finished is I want you to lay these cards somewhere where you can see them 7 cards apart. 7 cards apart. Okay, so if you place this card here, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards apart. So just either side of where you can see them here. Okay. And the reason that we're going to place them 7 cards apart is because every single day for the next week, we are going to move the Knight of Pentacles closer to our outcome. Okay. We want this as our outcome to be activated in the world. And because it's only the 3 of Cups, it needs to be brought into Malkuth, it needs to be brought into manifestation, and perseverance is the thing that we have chosen to get us there. And so we are going to bring this card every day until on the 7th day you place that card on top of the minor card. Okay? On top of the minor card. Now, that sounds very simple, but with your activation and understanding of the energies of these 2 cards, and by doing it as a practical act every single day, you'll be aware of your perseverance. You'll be aware of the sacred connections. You'll be aware of the healing that can come as they close in on each other. Now, I'll put these notes up for use, but I'm going to do it with a lesser banishing ritual every day first. It doesn't matter if the knight is walking backwards or forwards in the image, because we are using it as a conceptual holding point for the energy of that card. And I usually use water and a little bit of salt. So if this was a plate of salt, okay, for purification and consecration. Remember what I said about purification and consecration. What I usually do is do a banishing ritual. So what I'd like you to do, at the very least, is draw a circle around the room. So just concentrate. If you want, bring some light down from your head, point, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and then draw a circle around the room before you do this. Okay, before you move the card one card closer. Yeah, so each day draw a circle. If you want to do a simple ritual, then, and again, I'll put these words up for you. These are slightly modified from some versions. These are just my version of the words. But I usually take the salt and I say, I usually take the water first. And then sometimes if you're using a dagger, or you can use your finger, just point to it and focus and say something like, I exorcise thee, O creature of water, and cast out from thee all impurities and uncleanliness of the spirits of phantasm. Okay, so we'd say something like that. And then you can just say, I purify thee, O creature of water. And then with the salt, I usually say, blessings be upon thee, O creature of salt. Let all malignity and hindrance pass hence from thee, and let all good enter in thee. Ever mindful that as water purifies the body, so salt purifies the soul. Wherefore do I bless and consecrate thee. Okay, so I'll have some salt and some water, and I'll do this from tomorrow. And then I put some of the salt into the water. And then I go round and sprinkle with the water into the circle. And I say this. So therefore first the priest who governeth the works of fire must sprinkle with the lustral waters of the loud resounding sea. And then I pick up incense or a candle if I have that. Then I go round again with the incense or the candle and say, and when all the phantoms have departed, thou shalt hear that holy formless fire, that fire that darts and flashes throughout the hidden depths of this universe. Hear thou the voice of the fire. And then I'll put the incense or the candle down. And that for me is the purification. So therefore first the priest must sprinkle with the coagulating waters of the loud resounding sea. Sometimes I use lustral, but the original translation I like better, even though it sounds a little bit less poetic. The original translation is more like coagulating, the coagulating sea. I'll put it into writing. I've got a zillion versions of this, so I'll just put it into a quick piece of text. And it's in the Magister as well as the basic sort of ritual structure. Okay, so we make our temple, so we draw a circle, we banish, which I do with the lesser banishing, but you can do it just with the circle. Then we purify some salt and water, which is very easy to have at hand, even in a lockdown. We then purify the temple with a bit of water. We consecrate it with incense and with fire. And then we do our invocation. And so this is what we've got to very quickly. We've got a couple of minutes before I'm going to read from the Daughter of Fire, a little bit of an invocation. Okay, now we need to invoke the energy of the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, and So we might say something like, and feel free to add lines into the comment thread. That'd be very useful. So I'll throw a few lines in there, you can throw a few lines in, and then after this is done, people can take a selection of the lines for their invocation of the Knight of Pentacles, because you're going to invoke the Knight, this side, having done this little ritual, and then moving one step closer. And then the following day, invoke him again for 7 days until he lands on this card. And during that time, we will persevere and bring healing through our connections. Okay. Yeah, so it's exactly the same things. The Magicka School versions in my courses on Magicka School, we'll use my version, and in the older courses, we'll use Pino Longchild's version, which is very, very similar. Very similar. So, right, the energy of the Knight of Pentacles. So my first line would be, oh, I call upon thee now, the straight and narrow path. Brilliant. Oh, Knight of Pentacles. Patricia, we are starting from about 2 weeks ago. I think we moved to British summertime, so we went an hour earlier. To apologise, we put it several times in the Facebook group, but obviously we then didn't put it for the last week or so. So it's always 9 p.m. UK time, whether it's British summertime now or it wasn't before, it was GMT before. Where were we? I call upon thee now, the straight and narrow path. Knight of Pentacles, O Knight of unwavering commitment, with steady and patient heart. Oh, you're brilliant. How wonderful. So, with steady and patient heart, with thy steed as steady as the earth beneath, thy steed as steady as the earth beneath, armoured against all ills, protected against all travails, thou art strong in bearing the seed of the crop, and thou art unwavering in thy commitment to guide and guard all that grows. Alliteration is usually quite good in an invocation, so to guide and guard all that grows would have a good ring to it. Okay, so if anyone wants to make a few notes from those, and then write your own little version of it, think about Crowley's 7 lines that start from a very practical thing to a very loving thing, devotional thing at the top. Okay? I seek to grow in your shadow. Or Evelyn, we could change that to, we all seek to dance in your shadow, or to grow in your shadow, to connect in your shadow, perhaps. Okay? And this is just the process that we go through to write a ritual. And there you go. You have now, altogether, we have written our first tarot ritual. And it's a very simple thing, but it can be very, very powerful. Very powerful. And of course, we are doing it by the very thing that we want to do, as a group, as a circle of connected people for our own healing. So the very process of writing the ritual is the ritual itself. Isn't that quite cool? So that's what we're going to do for the next 7 days. And we can report in on the Facebook group as we develop it. People can perhaps put their own versions of the poem that they use for their invocation. I'll put these up tonight. It might be tomorrow morning. I'll see how I do. I'll probably just put them in a quick note for tonight, and then I'll tidy them up for tomorrow. Okay? So that's basically how we do a ritual. And Right. So, in terms of deities, we would use a deity that was associated with the Knight of Pentacles. So we could use Pan, or we could use even Bacchus, I guess. Um, yeah. Oh, that's a brilliant one, Tony. See how Tony's managed to make one concise. Um, One of my magical teachers used to say to me, I love rituals where you get in, you do it, you get out. And that was it. I love the long rituals. I love the long, elaborate ones. He was more, you get in, you do it, you get out. So I asked the Knight of Pentacles for your perseverance in this time of healing to all connected within the sacred circle. Brilliant. How excellent. So that summarizes that aim, the aim of the ritual. And another thing is that you should always be able to look at the invocation and understand what the ritual is about. That's a good test of have you written a good invocation. If someone took the invocation, could they work out what the ritual was about? If they can't, then you need to rewrite your invocation. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so that leads us. We only be chatting to our own deity. When you do Libra Astarte, then yes, certainly. If you have dedicated yourself to a particular deity, then obviously you may need to work with that deity to then work with other energies. But here, what we're doing is we're technically working with a lower energy than a sort of deity level energy. We're just working with the energy of, in fact, the sort of Knight of Pentacles. So it is quite a safe energy to work with. It's partly why I didn't want to work with the major arcana, because those are quite big archetypal energy fields that can have all sorts of effects when you're working with them. Okay, makes sense? Now, that is to do with HOD, all of this. A lot of practical work, a lot of practicus, applying everything that you've learned to all of your correspondences. We could develop this ritual far greater, to have numerology correspondences, colour, music, sound, the relevant incense we could burn for it, and so on. You could very quickly now turn it into a 1 hour, 2 hour ritual for a whole group of people. Now, on the other side, though, we have Netzach. And Netzach is far more contemplative. This is our inner mystical work, not group work, not practical work, but our own inner spirituality and mysticism, our own journey, our own inner world. So it's more to do with contemplative work, meditation work, prayer type work, dedication work, and so on, in preparation for the experiences of Tiferet, which exist on a very different level to all of the magical work that we might be doing down here. And this journey can take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. There's no real time limit on the actual journey itself. And when we look at this sort of inner work, I'm particularly fond of folk like Irina Tweedy here. And Tweedy was a Western Russian woman who went out to work with a Sufi master. So she studied a particular form of yoga as well. And she wrote her experiences in a journal, in a diary, which was published as Daughter of Fire. And I'm also going to read in a few days' time from Bernadette Roberts, another female mystic who worked from a more, I guess, sort of Catholic sort of way. But Irina Tweedy worked from a more Eastern perspective. My second girlfriend was a student of Irina Tweedy and used to sit with her in London a lot, and kindly got a book dedicated signed for me, and Irina Tweedy just simply wrote in it, "All paths lead to the one," which I think is very true of every path. And I'd like to read a section from this right towards the end of her whole journey. And without too many spoilers, this is just after her guru has died, has passed away. And so she had this experience just after that point. And it's just to give a slight difference of indication of the devotional path as opposed to necessarily the logical, magical, structural path that we see on the other side. Yeah, that's it. As Lily is saying, emotional mind, logical mind. And that's exactly what we're talking about with Hod and Netzach. But they are bound together. They are bound together. You can't have one without the other. So this is from the 16th of September from Irina Tweedy's diary just after her guru had passed away. The sunrise was once more like a painting of Turner this morning, seen through the luminous mist driving up from the valleys, drifting in patches and stripes across the hill. One could just see the mountains dimly amongst swiftly billowing clouds, like in a grey-blue dream. It was lovely after a night of rain. The sun was warm. I enjoyed my cup of tea seated on my doorstep, and then I saw him. He was large, perhaps 3 inches long, very hairy, very thick, a caterpillar of the most beautiful russet brown. He was walking rather purposefully on the ledge of the wall behind me towards the veranda. I was watching him. He was advancing surprisingly swiftly. "You will be killed there. A crow or some other bird will get you. Where are you going? What a large butterfly or moth it must be to have such a large caterpillar." I wondered what variety it could be. He was going and going, and from time to time he was lifting the front part of his body, checking if he could climb up. But the whitewashed wall was too smooth. He could find no hold with his little feet. Reached the pillar near the veranda steps and tried to climb up, but without success. I understood that there was an urge in him to go up, perhaps to pupate somewhere and be safe for the coming winter. In spring he will be a butterfly. Our garden was full of them, fluttering about in the sunshine. I took a folded newspaper and made him go on it and put him on a stone heap, thinking that he will easily find a place there in a crack to settle for the winter. But he went back again towards the wall and began to try to climb it unsuccessfully, falling back again and again. To help him, I put him on one of the beams supporting the roof. Surely he would find a good place up there. But when, after a while, I went out, I found him lying on the ground, slightly dazed. He fell down, obviously from this height, and thick and fat as he was, even cushioned by his hairiness, he must have hurt himself. Seeing me approaching, he became energetic and tried again to climb up the wall. Such an urge to go upwards. How can I help you? Where shall I put you? I put him again on the stone heap, but by that time he was clearly exhausted. For a few minutes he sat on a stone, his head hanging on one side as a tired human might do. Then he began the fruitless attempt to climb the wall. An idea struck me. What about the tall cypress pine? It is so old and has so many crooks and crannies to hide in the bark. There is a chance that a bird may get hold of him if he is foolish to expose himself. Still, it is worth trying, though his urge made him oblivious to any danger, so it seems. Once more, I made him walk on a folded newspaper, then took him to the tree. The very moment he got the feeling of the bark beneath his feet, as if glad, as if relieved, steadily and rhythmically he began to climb upwards. I could feel the urge, the relief. I felt his hurry. Up and up he went. He must be tired. His movements were slower than before. I hoped that he would have the strength not to let the bark go, to cling to it. 10 feet, 25 feet. He was still going. There was, in between the two branches, a crack, a hollow. That would be a good hiding place. But he ignored it. He was still going up. And suddenly it occurred to me that he was a symbol of spiritual life. Caterpillars we are. One day we will all be butterflies. But in order to become a butterfly, we will have to go higher and higher to be able to transform ourselves somewhere in the darkness, in a secret hiding place. We have to go up higher and higher in spite of the dangers lurking around. Danger of death, of falling down, of being killed, devoured by our passions and temptations. Up and up we have to go. And he, my caterpillar, what will he do when he reaches the very top of the tree, where there is nowhere to go except the void? Will he throw himself into the void full of sunshine? Will he creep into a nook somewhere in between the bark and old branches and hibernate there? My neck was aching watching him. So high he was now, still walking upwards. By now he got hold of a small thin branch hanging near the trunk, and he marched steadily on it. Probably it was easier. His little feet could clasp it firmly. I went inside, washed a few cups. When I came out, I looked on the ground around the tree if by any chance he had fallen there. No, he was still walking so high that I could hardly see him amongst the shifting light and shade of the branches. He was still walking up. I confess I was full of admiration. Such an urge, such a perseverance. Then he turned a corner and disappeared behind a thick branch. He was lost from my view. Good luck. May you be successful in your tremendous urge. What is this powerful instinct beyond your control which drives you on? Like me, this urge, beyond my control. We are brothers, little caterpillar, you and I. That was an extract from the diaries of Irina Tweedy from her book, Daughter of Fire. An incredible journal of an incredible woman and mystic who threw herself into the path of fire. And I hope that balances off a little bit the more emotional side to our structural, magical side. These two things are one and the same. And I would highly recommend Daughter of Fire as a book to read. It's a very demanding book and a very challenging one of what it's like to throw yourself into the full spiritual life. So thanks a lot for your time. I'll drop our little set of notes in the thread for this, and then tomorrow I'll put up a proper document into the file section. So our virtual circle has indeed formed. Perseverance in our sacred connections brings wholeness and healing, and I shall make sure in the morning to set up my 2 cards and perform my first day of this 7-day ritual that I hope you can share with us all. So thanks a lot, everyone, and that was also to explain a little bit about how we work as a Practicus and the Philosophus on the Tree of Life, on the initiation system as we go up. We're at a full hour. Thanks a lot for your time and attention. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.